Hello, this is Jamie. So, the topic of the week was Druidess and S equaling less, and therefore being really not desirable to attach to the term of Druid, to the noun, to the name Druid. So, I was really challenged on that, as some women take great pride in terms like priestess, Druidess, temptress, and that should kind of maybe, if that's fair or unfair, please tell me. It seems to me that, that's a way of rocking feminine sexuality. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not criticizing that. But the other connotations, there's a price for that. And of course, some men, in a sort of romantic sense, are very attached to those terms. And they find it quite a loss to them because of their romantic notions being challenged. I'm not trying to be insulting. Some of these men are very nice people, but it is still a way of diminishing women in terms of our intelligence and other aspects of self, because it's sexualizing the term druid. So I also would say take a look at some of the illustrations and of fanciful druids. How often do you see the old man with an old woman? An old druid with a old druid who is not male? You don't. You see the young, voluptuous, yearning female druid at the feet of this old man with the long white beard. This is how druidess fits in with druid in this kind of a paradigm. We can also look at where S came from. S, ESS in modern English, in Old English and Old French, ESSE. But before that, that came out of the Greek and Roman languages, the Latin, ESSA. Look at the nature of Greek and Roman society back in ancient times when the Druids were flourishing and the empire was flourishing, and these fantastic philosophers, Socrates and Pythagoras. Pythagoras is very associated with Druids. Look at these time periods. Pythagoras, his cult, maybe we shouldn't call it a cult, but we will just for now, included women. And in the times of the ancient Druids, there were women in these practices that were very respected, whether bards, teachers of all sorts, especially warriors, healers, seers, practitioners. Their names have gone down in history. But what else has gone down in history is little remarks like the problem of the female druids that were written down in terms, that reflect the Roman view of these women. In addition to that, druid, druidess, these are binary terms. They have morphed into a binary perceptual paradigm. So what about everybody who doesn't fit into that paradigm? Or can they not be a druid? How does that not seem strange? So druid has become gender neutral. Many words like doctor, lawyer, these words are now gender neutral. Although when you juxtapose them, say doctor with nurse, what is honestly the first thing that comes to your mind? Many people will say the doctor is male if you're picturing the doctor, and the nurse is female. And of course we have male nurses. Of course we have female doctors. My doctor is a female doctor. So some of us still have these little autopilots to this kind of imagery, and we get fooled by that. We forget about it. It becomes somewhat invisible until the subject comes up. But there is a connotation. And sometimes that connotation reflects a way of thinking that may be conscious or unconscious, such as with the word artist. I am an artist. I'm a female artist with a gendered first name, Jamie. And when I was younger, there were no female Jamies that I'm aware of. The first one I heard of growing up was Jamie Summers, the Bionic Woman. And that began to change everything for me. But, I was put on the boys list. To this day, if people do not know that I am a woman and they see me see my work, I sometimes will wander around and talk to people without identifying myself as the artist of the work. Very often they assume it's a male artist. Those conversations are very, very interesting. And then when I reveal that I am the artist, everything changes. Everything changes. Yeah. So these perceptions, conscious or unconscious, are still very, very much alive. And if you have managed to bypass them, you are very lucky. However, I suggest that you may not have been as scot-free on that as you think. Now, let's get back to S. I think I mentioned also how that excludes people that do not fit readily into a binary paradigm. Is that right? I don't think that's right. Let's go to the neutral name, the neutral identification. Let's make those identifications all neutral. They don't need ESS. That was created by two societies that absolutely had very oppressed ideas of what women were. Women had very diminutive roles in Roman and Greek society. So, although you might see some priestesses, it's not, it's a rough one. I would suggest that if you want to challenge me on this, you first really study these two cultures and open your mind and ask yourself, are you one of those people that idealizes Greece as a free and democratic society? Look again. Who got to vote? Men. Not just men, and not just any men, not just every man, but a very elite group of men. Not all men in Greek society got to vote. The vast majority did not get to vote. No women got to vote. No slaves got to vote. They were slaves. How is that democratic? Slavery is not at all democratic. So, you have to really challenge some of your assumptions. Research in a way that is not wholeheartedly just so biased that it was pointless. Really, really look. Ask yourself some tough questions. S equals less. We don't need it. It certainly doesn't belong in Druidism, which comes out of a culture that was very enlightened for its time period in terms of the ancient Druids regarding the rights of women. Look at the Brehon Laws of Ireland to reference that. And also Pythagoras, although Greek, there is some reasonable notion that Druids were either influenced or connected in some way, that there was communication between that Pythagorean movement and Druidism, just as there is some kind of influential connection with the Vedas, with Hinduism. People traveled, they spoke, they made exchange of ideas, they influenced each other. They adopted what they thought were really good ideas. They would hire potentially craftsmen from different cultures into their cultures to make things. Sometimes people traveled with different cultures. So, keep an open mind. And we all need to, every now and then, do a personal inventory on our ideas, our belief systems, and our perceptions. So, if you're a druid, you're a druid. It's all inclusive. Okay? It's about the identity of the profession or the practice, not the gender of the person, how many children they may or may not have, if they are married or not. None of that comes, perhaps, if you're interested, if you get to know a particular person of a particular practice, then you'll know about those things as they are all individuals, right? The beauty of individuals and the beauty of community. Take care.